everyone, it's Anita, and I am going to tour with you our great room in Iconic Haus 2020. Very excited to show it to you, and this house has turned out wonderfully. So let me start with where our inspiration came from, and it really started with what the architect had in mind. So when C.P. Druitt, who is my friend and a brilliant architect, started this home, he was inspired by mid-century Mexican modern architecture. So like Larghetto, Barragan, and that's where he started with his philosophy for the house and modernizing it. So it wasn't so much about the colors used there, but the kind of architectural massing that was included. So the house has all these wonderful, great, simplistic forms that kind of intersect with each other, and then amount of just beautiful negative space and glazing. So with that in mind, the first piece that I knew I wanted to use was this piece from Living Divani that I had actually seen in one of my visits to Milano for the Salone there, the furniture market. And I knew I just had to use it at one point, and now this was the perfect place to use it, because when you look at these different forms, they're like different blocks and sizes puzzled together, very much like the architecture of the house is. Plus, what I love about this piece, it kind of allows us to think differently in the way that we live and socialize in a space. So once all this stuff is over and we're allowed to socialize again, imagine sitting in here and lounging, and you can talk over the top of, that somebody can sit here and kind of talk to somebody that might be sitting in that space, or we create another cluster here with this ottoman and an intimate sitting area and conversation pit. Or we have these deep loungy areas where we can all watch movies together. So I like the way it's very interactive, and it really lets us live very casual and create some other opportunities for how we can place the furniture. So another thing that came to my mind having to do with the architecture is how all this glazing around us pockets back, or in this case, they tend to layer in front of each other and create kind of an interesting little play of several panes of glass, and I like that effect it was having in the space. So I was inspired to do something within this large volume that would also be a floor-to-ceiling layered element, semi-transparent. And as I played with the different mediums, I thought about like 1970s, 1960s, where macrame and string art was a really big deal, and it really creates that kind of more relaxed Mexican Tulum vibe. So I collaborated with a local artist, Diane Rogers, and created these 14-foot art pieces of macrame. And there has been hours of love and labor that have gone into these pieces, but I am really happy in how spectacular they turned out, and everyone's talking about them, so that's fun. The other thing that always adds for an interesting room is how you can add pieces from different vintages and eras to make something just more special, more bespoke, and more personalized. So some other interesting pieces we have in the space are these 1960s Michel Arnault pieces that are vintage pieces from Red Modern, and I love them. They even have the old branding mark on the back side of it. Lots of character. It feels relaxed and comfortable already within the space. We have the Baxter terrazzo table, which is a new collection, but I think it adds another interesting element of textile and materials. And then these are pieces that I had made that are my own Design 528 collection. And because there were so many very square elements in the room, I wanted something that had more organic shape and more of a relaxed shape. I also am a big fan of Cornelia Parker, who is an amazing artist, and she has an amazing piece here in our Phoenix Art Museum, as well as when I was in Sydney a couple months ago, she had an exhibit there that was incredible. And what I loved about the way she works with art and design is she really plays to negative space. So the negative space within something is as important as any material she's using. And with that inspiration, I wanted to create a form that still had a lot of elements of negative space, but the parameter of the solid material created the form. And that's where this whole idea of this organic kind of sea pod or driftwood shape started to take form. And Peter Thomas made these for me in town and did an amazing job at that too. Also, when we were accessorizing the space, I feel like the accessory gods were being kind to me because I was going through little antique troves around and about, and I came across these older hand-carved Mexican masks that really have played to that Mayan architecture, Mayan era, and I just love how we played with them with just some books, because books always warm up a space. You can never have too many, and it just had the right touch for in here. A little vignette as you walk into the room, and it has a couple of my favorite pieces in the world. So there's the Forteau brothers that are local artists from Phoenix but have done work all over the place, all over the United States. And they did this piece they're commissioned. It actually represents teamwork and creating something as a group. So I just adore this piece. It's on for me. And then these are everything. I can't even stand how good these lamps are. So they are from Charles Paris. They were done in the 1990s, but the original design is back from the 1960s. And they are exquisite metalwork pieces where all these metal pieces are done individually and with really old world techniques of how they create and turn that metal. So spectacular, and thank you to Maid for letting us borrow these. So, and then, yeah, so I'm curious to think of what you guys think about the space. We invite you to, there's gonna be another amazing virtual tour of Iconic Haus where you get to see all the rooms that Renee D, the publisher of Iconic Lifestyle, will be releasing shortly. So we'll keep you posted on that.